Wow, what a lot of information to think about and to process. We've understood that Paul is being punished for announcing that Jesus is Lord over all things. And when Paul talks about his struggles and hardships, we wonder why he describes them the way he does. According to Paul, his suffering isn't a sign of defeat. It's his way of going through the suffering that Jesus went through. And for Paul to give in to what the people of Colossae were doing was a compromise. It was a failure. According to him, it was a failure to grasp who Jesus really is and what he has done for you and me. And what the people of Colossae failed to recognize was that every other religious law or thing or whatever it was that they were trying to go after was lacking something. And they failed to realize that with Jesus comes true fulfillment, which is what they've been looking for all along. And Paul just wanted to remind them to just reshift their focus as to who God is and what he has done for them. And we get to see that and read that in Colossians chapter 1 that Katrina is going to be reading for us now.
Colossians 1 verses 15 to 23. The Son is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn over all creation. For in him all things were created, things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or powers or rulers or authorities. All things have been created through him and for him. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together. And he is the head of the body, the church. He is beginning and the firstborn from among the dead, so that in everything he might have the supremacy. For God was pleased to have all his fullness dwell in him, and through him to reconcile to himself all things, whether things on earth or things in heaven, by making peace through his blood shed on the cross. Once you were alienated from God and were enemies in your minds because of your evil behavior. But now he has reconciled you by Christ's physical body through death, to present you holy in his sight, without blemish and free from accusation. If you continue in your faith, established and firm, and do not move from the hope held out in the gospel, this is the gospel that you heard, and that has been proclaimed to every creature under heaven, and of which I, Paul, have become a servant.
So, when I was preparing for these videos and I was reading through those verses, I couldn't help but be so challenged. Yes, what the people in Colossae were going through and feeling and were influenced by are maybe completely different to what we are feeling today. But the concept is still the same. The world is trying to take our eyes and our concentration and our shift and our focus off of Jesus and convincing us that what the world has to offer is better than a relationship with Jesus. Now, I'll be honest and say that this is definitely something that I have fallen into the habit of, into the trap of, especially with the pages and the people and influencers that I follow on Instagram, the music I listen to, maybe sometimes the TV shows that I watch. And there are times where I find myself just consumed by it all. And then it means that I find I'm less joyful, I'm less at peace within myself and in my heart. And I feel that I'm letting the world influence me rather than me influencing the world with my relationship with Jesus and what's on the inside in my heart. Now, I've got one more video to show you, and it's of a guy giving a spoken word on the question, who influences you? And I'll hopefully get you to think about where your source of influence comes from. Take a look.